name is Michelle Price. I've been an attorney in Colorado since 1984, and I have been a judge for just 21 years. I just passed my 21st anniversary as a judge.
So how did you first become interested
in the law? It's kind of a funny story. So I'm adopted, and when my parents were going through final adoption proceedings for me in court, this was in Pennsylvania, I think I was about 18 months old or so for the final adoption. My mother's story is that I talked so much in the courtroom, the judge finally said, "Please remove the disturbance from the courtroom." And she said, "I knew right then you were destined to become a lawyer." So I don't know if that's a completely accurate story, but I would say the law interested me from an early age. Something about the significance of it, the variety of career opportunities within. So to be perfectly honest, I've been interested since probably elementary school. Well, to become a practicing attorney, which is different from a lawyer, and I'll explain that in a moment, one needs to have an undergraduate degree, so from a university or a college. A lot of people think you need to have a degree in a certain area. You really don't. Some ones that are commonly recommended before law school are political science, business, English, journalism. We do a lot of writing in the law, a lot of reading and assimilating of information. Psychology is a good one. People who might want to go into specialized areas of law sometimes find their technical degrees are good. If they want to go into oil and gas law, an engineering degree might be beneficial, that sort of thing. So you must have the undergraduate degree first, and then you go to law school. Law school is generally 3 years long. Some people will push through summers and graduate in 2.5 years. These days we're finding more hybrids where you might have a 6-year program. I think University of Denver does, so it's kind of 4 + 2, so instead of 7 years for undergrad and law school, it's 6. And but generally you should count on 3-year in law school, and then you graduate. You are then a lawyer, but you're not yet an attorney. An attorney is the term used for one who is licensed to practice. So similar to licensing required for doctors or dentists, cosmetologists, there's many states that have regulatory programs and you're required to pass a test. The test that one takes after graduating with a law degree is called the bar exam. Now, it's a lot different than when I took it, but generally it's a multi-day test that there's some common questions asked that apply to all jurisdictions in the United States, and then there may be some particular to a state. States have different levels of passing, so for example, you might have to score in the top 5% to be admitted to the bar in the state of California, but not as high a percent in another state. So after that, then one is sworn in and is an attorney. So that's the preparatory piece, and some people never take a bar exam. I knew a lawyer here in town who worked with a large healthcare organization, and he did contract review and administration. And so while he was a lawyer, he didn't have any interest in practicing in the courts of a particular state, and so he never took the bar exam. But to actually enter the court, if you've ever been in the old Pioneers Museum downtown, there is literally sort of a separating area between where the audience will sit and where the judge and jurors and other people involved with it may sit, and that's called the bar. And to pass the bar and to present a case on behalf of someone in front of a judge or a jury, you have to be licensed. Well, I'll speak to being a judge about that. I think to be a judge, our goal is to be fair, to be calm, to have an easygoing demeanor, because when people are in court, they're usually not there because they're happy about something and they don't have anything better to do. In the court here, we deal with traffic, lower level criminal, and certain offenses against our city. So it might be accumulation of junk, or it might be animal-related complaints or zoning things. But when a person appears before us, they're often upset and angry, sometimes afraid, sometimes confused. In our court, we have a lot of our homeless population, and we will have people, it's not rare to have people who are either disabled or compromised in their ability to understand. So the personality traits are to be able to relate to each person individually, and when they are angry at you, you don't respond with anger back. You need to be calm and fair and kind and understanding as much as possible. And people will try to ignite you. And in 21 years here, I've never been angry with someone. I may have been unhappy with how they acted in the courtroom, but you do not respond in kind. Well, for an attorney or a lawyer, I'll start with that. Coming out of law school now, it would depend so much on what you would do if you were to go with a public agency like a district attorney's office, a public defender's office, a county attorney, a city attorney. An entry-level position there would probably be somewhere around $60,000. Now remember, a lot of people are coming out of law school with a lot of debt too. So that may sound like a lot of money, but again, that's starting. If you were to work for a very large law firm, that could go up into easily $150,000 as a starting salary. For a judge, in Colorado, we are not elected, we are appointed. In some states, they're elected. In some states, you are elected by running not only a campaign to get elected, but on a partisan ticket as a member of a party. I like the fact that in Colorado, that's not how one becomes a judge. Most people do not become a judge, or as we call it, take the bench. Early in their career. It tends to be later in the career. They're usually looking for experience in a lot of areas. Before I became a judge here, I had worked for a law firm. I've been a criminal prosecutor. I had been a corporate attorney doing employment law. I had been in private practice doing both civil and criminal for plaintiffs and defendants. And so by the time I came here, I'd had a lot of opportunity in a lot of different areas of the law that I think is helpful in understanding what you're dealing with, the people, the cases, and the appropriate way to handle them. So salary is what you were asking about. In the state of Colorado, if you were to be a state judge, we are in what's called the 4th Judicial District here. That's the courthouse down on Tejon. And those are county and district court judges. Their salaries are set by the legislature for the state of Colorado. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure, but I believe starting salary for a county court judge to be about $150,000, and I think district court judge is around $170,000. In municipal court, where I work, we are part-time judges. Many of us have or have had in the past a private practice on the side. And so here we work a certain number of days a month and a year. Those days are set for us, and we are on a contract to do so. So my salary here is about $50,000, but I work about 2/3 time. And when my work is done, I am free to leave and go to my office or do other personal work, whereas the county and district court judges are there all day, every day. So I don't receive benefits, they receive benefits. I do receive retirement, but there's a tremendous amount of flexibility here. Most people do not become a judge for the money. You can make a lot more money in private practice. Most people are drawn to it because the sense of serving the public and the stewardship is important to them. That's a very good question, because if you watch on television, they usually show a judge only in the courtroom and ruling and pounding the gavel. We don't even have gavels. They steal them off the bench, so we don't pound anything. So my work environment is here in Colorado Springs Municipal Court. It's a beautiful courthouse. As you can see right now, we're set up for distancing and safety protocols due to the virus. We have 10 judges here. We also have court clerks. We have 5 court divisions, and we are assigned to different divisions on different days, and each division does something different. So for example, today I was in this division, Division 1 in the city courthouse, and we were handling just lower level traffic. Tomorrow morning I will be in our Division 5, and I will by video handle people who are in custody in the El Paso County Jail. And because constitutionally they have a right for their cases to be heard in an expedient manner, we will hear people who perhaps were arrested tonight or today sometime tomorrow morning and determine what's the next direction of their case. Tomorrow afternoon, I will have people who are making their first appearance on criminal matters or higher level traffic matters that are more significant and potentially subject to higher sentences. So this is the environment where we work. I like the fact that we have variety in our dockets. It keeps it fresh. The people who are here are absolutely a cross-section of society. I have had, I probably won't say his name, although it is public, but I've had Olympians in here who got a speeding ticket. I've had 5-star generals from NORAD. We also get a tremendous amount of our transient population and everything in between. Most everybody gets a traffic violation at one point or another, and they come through here. We treat everyone the same with dignity and respect, and we want their experience here to be positive, because for a lot of people it may be their only contact with the courts, and we hope they will leave feeling that their experience, while perhaps wasn't one they sought out, was one that was not terribly unpleasant at the time they leave. My days are, it depends on what docket I have, what time they start. I'm usually here by about 8:30 in the morning. Different divisions start at different times, some at 8:45, jail docket tomorrow morning. It's very important to be ready to roll, because sometimes the marshals who are there will say, we have somebody who's really agitated, let's take them first and move them along before we have an incident. So security is a huge factor. When I have a courtroom full of people and they're restless, I need to pay attention to that. Right now, people are very wary and unsettled, and I try to be sensitive to that when we're in the courtroom and keep it moving. I tell them, your case is the most important one to me, but so is your time. So I'm not going to waste it. We're going to move things along, but I'm here as long as you need me to be here. So when I'm done, I am free to leave. Again, it depends on the docket. If I have trials scheduled, we start at 1:30. They may end at 4:15, it may be 6 o'clock, maybe nobody shows up, and I'm done by 1:45. I don't have control over that, but I am free to leave and then do either private work or personal work after that. I think people assume that the judge is the person in charge of the courtroom, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think my clerk is probably the most important person in the courtroom, because they talk to people before I do. Our marshals are integral because their mere presence assures security. We have so much that happens behind the scenes in this building. We have people who work in our violations bureau who handle resetting of court dates, payment of fines. It's sort of a first stop for many folks coming in, and they take a lot of heat that we don't see. We have a probation department here, so they deal with people who have to do classes or go through drug testing or report in to see if they are following up with their therapist. And they are really essential to us being able to deliver an effective product and complete our service. So I think here what's important is we are very much a team. No one person is more important than the others. In fact, I'm probably among the least important, because I have to defer to the others and really read their signals on how to handle things. That's a really great question. In the past years, I've been able to speak to career days at high schools, and I will often say to them, well, how many of you think you want to be a lawyer because you make a lot of money? And of course, pretty much everybody raises their hand. And I usually urge them to go to med school if that's what they have in mind, although I'm not sure that's true anymore either. One of the great things about a career in the law is the multifaceted opportunities available to you afterwards. I mentioned a few minutes ago a gentleman I knew who never stepped foot in a courtroom and had no interest in doing so. He loved doing contract review, and his law degree was beneficial. I know people who have been teachers, either at an educational, a true educational facility, usually not high school, but it may be at a college teaching courses on law, it may be at a law school, it may be through other kind of community things. We have to take what's called continuing legal education. So I know people who have taken the law degree and become instructors of some sort. You'd be surprised how many bank officers have law degrees, setting up trusts and things like that. One of the great things though is you can walk out of law school, hang out your little sign, and you have a business. I call it hanging out your shingle. And I know a lot of people who've done that. And you can't do that in you can't become a teacher and put out a sign and say, well, I'm a teacher, come see me. So I love the fact that the law offers a lot of different opportunities. It is not just being in a courtroom like you see on television. It may be working for a large firm, it may be working for an oil company, it may be working in an engineering corporation. So many opportunities, doors open with that degree, even if you have no interest in being in a courtroom. The other piece is, I think it is truly a lifelong career. If one is a pilot, I think that there's restrictions on age and eyesight. There are other careers that have restrictions for various reasons based on age or ability. But the law, I know people who've practiced well into their 80s and love it and enjoy it and still thrive and deliver a tremendous product. So one can sort of move in and out of the career throughout one's lifetime. Part of what I have loved about my career is when I had small children, I job shared with another attorney in a corporate law environment. And it was great because I had the opportunity to still stay in my career, but have some time to be with my family, but also have some time to continue to advance it. That's not for everyone, but I'm grateful that I had options within that career, and I think the law offers that somewhat unique to careers. I had a friend many years ago who was with a firm in Denver, and her goal was to become not just a partner in the firm, but what they would call an equity partner, if not even a managing partner. So now you own part of the business and direct the business. However, many years into it, she said, I don't regret my decisions, but I also realized that I consciously determined I was not going to pursue marriage and family as a result of that. That was a lot of years ago. I don't know if that's changed a lot or not. I think one has to decide that balance for oneself. But I do think the law offers that and is even more conducive to that now than when I first started in the early 80s. Now I think you'll see a lot of people who say, I take Wednesdays off, or I am out of the office by 4. That's going to depend a lot. If you work for a large firm, they expect a lot of work and billable hours. If you have your own practice, you have a little bit more autonomy. Here, my court's not done till court's done. I can't say at 3 o'clock, my child has a dentist appointment, all of you go home and I'll see you another day. I'm here until it's done, and I understand that. But I do think that it offers the opportunity to strike a work-life balance depending on what one's priorities are. You know, I say every day I learn something new. I am humbled. Sometimes I laugh not at people, mostly at myself, for not realizing something I should have realized. I think this job is one of stewardship. It is truly one of public service. This is not an aspect of the law career where one is going to get rich, but I've been doing it for 21 years, and every day I love coming to work. I love the people I work with, and I love what I am privileged to do, because it is a privilege. We're appointed by the mayor for the city of Colorado Springs. We don't stand for retention. You're probably not voting this year yet, but on this year's ballot there will be judges who are up for retention, and that means that the voters decide if they get to stay. Those are state judges, so those are the ones in the 4th Judicial District. We do not stand for retention, but we are subject every year to being retained in our position by the mayor's determination of how we are performing. So we do have performance evaluations every year, and currently it's Mayor Southers will determine whether or not to renew our contract. So I love it. And I tell him that every year, and I say, thank you for letting me do this. Honestly, if they would let me even do it for free, I'd do it for free. That's how important it is to me. 6 months ago, I wouldn't have had an answer to that question, but now I think I have some answers to that question. We have found since the pandemic in March, the court itself was largely entirely closed for about 10 days, and then we were back up and running remotely. So our people worked from home. The chief judge and I actually took turns a week at a time with the team coming in and handling cases. We had to handle people in jail every day, and then we had a lot of other cases set that you can't just throw them away and go, oh, well, don't worry about that. Something still needed to happen to retain jurisdiction. So what we have found during this time is a lot more creative ways of handling our dockets. We here are finding that we can do things through snail mail for people who are like, I live in New Jersey, I was just passing through, what can we work out? Okay. Through email. We have not here had to go to things like juries by Zoom or WebEx. We've actually had some live jury trials. We just are following the appropriate protocols. But it's required us to think about things differently, about efficiency, about being aware of the restrictions we're under now, but also being aware of the fact that perhaps we can do some things better in the future. And I think we're going to see more of that. Technology is going to be more a piece of this. Most of our cases, though, I understand in this court, are resolved in 1 or 2 visits. Whereas in county or district court, you may have a case drag on for a couple of years before it actually comes to trial, and there's motion hearings and postponements because it's just a different situation. But because we are sort of geared towards strong customer service and efficiency of resolution, I think we're going to continue to explore doing more things through technology. Well, I think the law is a tremendously rewarding career. It can also be a career that exhausts one, but any career can be that way. So my advice would be enter it if you feel strongly about being in a service profession, because it is a service profession. I don't know if you noticed, but when you go by law offices, they will say attorney and counselor at law. When I was in private practice, I probably just as much counseling as I did advising and giving the people strategies that they could consider for resolution. So I think one is drawn to it if one feels that way. The other thing is recognize that it is a profession that will reward you appropriately for what you put into it, but you can also ebb and flow within it over the course of a lifetime. And that is pretty unique among professions. And that, I think, alone is one that hopefully will entice a lot of young people to consider it.